When you think of Florida, what comes to mind? Sharks? Crazy NASCAR fans? Old Italian men in Speedos? Then you're kind of weird. Sure, there's palm trees and lots of sunny days and sandy beaches around every corner. In some parts of Florida, you just might think you're in heaven. Then there's the rest of Florida, where you think just about everyone's on some sort of stimulant. They probably are. This is where Cops tapes its best episodes, after all. For many people, when they think of Florida, they probably think of Florida Man news reports. Mainly, stories about residents of Florida doing some crazy shit, like Florida Man chases customers around the store with an alligator. Its men are the stars of You Can't Believe It Happened television. And it's women, too. Now, there's a good chance you've already been to Florida, as 48% of Americans have crossed its border, making it the most visited state in America. And 116 million tourists go to Florida each and every year from all over the world. It's easy to see why when you account for the tropical vibe. But what's it like to be a resident here? In this video, we're gonna unbox the state of Florida. Welcome to Florida, where you never know what you're gonna see while on your way to work each morning. But while you're driving to work with the windows down, your cousins up in Wisconsin are scraping ice off their windows. The diversity, the warm weather, and the fact that 21 million people make Florida home all contribute to the weird culture here. It's a clash of cultures. You got rednecks up north along the panhandle and down the middle, old retired coastal liberals, old retired coastal conservatives, Cubans and refugees down south, and spring breakers. This diversity is apparent in the presidential race every election year, as Florida is generally considered a purple state, with 37% of voters registered as Democrats, 35% as Republicans, and 28% not registered in any particular party. What about the landscape? Florida's entirely swamps and beaches. Just kidding, it's not all swamps and beaches. It also has a bunch of Chick-fil-A's and handicapped parking spots. Florida sits on what's called a peninsula, meaning it's almost completely surrounded by water.
Did you know Florida has the second longest coastline of any state?
Hey there, Mappy. You look like you're fitting right in down there with the rest of the tourists. Make sure you keep your sunscreen on. You're gonna fry out there, little guy. Mappy brought up a good point about Florida's 800 miles of beaches. Only Alaska has a longer coastline, and no matter where you are in Florida, you're no more than 60 miles from the ocean. Florida also has the Everglades, the largest designated wilderness in the eastern U.S. Only Florida's hardest core rednecks live there because it's filled with alligators and crocodiles and other deadly animals. There's also cities like Jacksonville, Tallahassee, and Orlando. There's plenty of hicks there too. And of course, there's Miami, which is one of the biggest examples of income gap in America. Many people here are loaded and many are baroque. Not much in between. The biggest industry in Florida is tourism, which isn't surprising since it's home to some of the biggest theme parks in the world, like Universal Studios, SeaWorld, Legoland, and even the Holy Land experience, where you can meet Jesus Christ himself. Oh, and there's also Walt Disney World. It's twice the size of Manhattan Island, and about the same size as San Francisco. 52 million people come here every year, most of which are middle-class families from the Midwest who drive down here for 2 days only to wind up standing in long lines in the heat. But hey, at least they get to meet Elsa, so there's that. With all the dangerous shit that happens in Florida, like hurricanes and alligator attacks, what really gets Floridans down? Tourists and old people, the greatest hazards to avoid here. They are forever clogging up the highways and just plain annoying. Speaking of wildlife in Florida, there's a large array of exotic creatures here, some that are really beautiful and some that are downright creepy. Not everything in Florida will kill you, but a lot will. Every smart Floridan knows that if there's a body of water no more than an inch deep, assume there's a gator in it. Alligator attacks are on the rise in Florida. Not too long ago, there was an alligator attack every few years. Now, there's about 7 every year. And if there's not a gator in that puddle, then there's probably a snake. There's some very large snakes here that are known to eat small pets as snacks. There's also sharks. And while shark attacks are few and far between, Florida usually tops the chart in unprovoked shark attacks across the US, with Volusia County annually crowned the shark attack capital of the world. There's also wild hogs that can be found in every Florida county too. They were brought here in the 1500s from Spain. Now, unregulated, there's an estimated 3 million wild pigs running around this state. There's also bugs. Did we mention the bugs? Because there's lots and lots of bugs. Since it's humid and wet most of the year, the mosquito population thrives here. There's currently 80 different species of mosquitoes in Florida. That's more than any other state. If you fall asleep on the porch swing, you just might get carried away. And the cockroaches are no joke either. Florida roaches can fly. Of course, you can't talk about Florida without mentioning the climate. Winter in Florida is basically non-existent. On average, Florida has the mildest winters of all states except Hawaii. In Key West, it hardly gets into the 50s in the winter. Miami averages 77 year-round. There's one season in Florida, and that's humidity season. People in Florida don't sweat. They glisten. It's a stagnant heat that Florida residents swear they enjoy just so they can say it sure beats shoveling snow. But it sure does rain here a lot. If the forecast says there's a 0.001% chance of rain, then it's gonna rain. On any given day, your chance of precipitation is around 100%, even if it's for like 5 minutes. This constant rainfall does guarantee, however, that it will be green all year in Florida. If you're looking for some fall foliage, it's best you head up north to some state like Connecticut or Massachusetts or something. And Florida's warm climate offers farmers a growing season from between 100 and 200 days longer than the other regions in the country. And with the nation's highest annual average precipitation, it also increases yield production to create ideal growing conditions. No wonder Florida is the largest producer of watermelons in the country. It also produces the most tomatoes, strawberries, and sugar. Oh, and oranges. Lots and lots of oranges for breakfast tables each morning. Hurricanes are another big event in the life of a Floridan. Hurricane season in Florida typically lasts from June 1st through November 30th, but a majority of these storms form near the end of the season, with September producing the most hurricanes, most of which start in the Caribbean or the Gulf of Mexico. Floridans are pretty prepared for hurricanes though. In fact, they throw hurricane parties. Neighbors get together, get drunk, and eat all the meat in the house, since they're likely going to lose power and live in the dark for 6 months. In Florida, they take hurricanes in strides though. After all, on average, 1 to 2 hurricanes make landfall on the east coast of the US every year, and of those, 40% hit Florida. They usually don't wipe out too many people though. Most Florida people die from riptides, tornadoes, lightning, sunburns, bug bites, shark bites, too much meth, and from strokes. Mostly the old people are the ones who die from the strokes.
Did you know Central Florida has more lightning than anywhere else in the country?
Really, Mappy? That's a crazy fact. Maybe you shouldn't hold that umbrella in your hand. You don't want to get struck there, fella. Besides the lightning storms and the sunburns and the over-tanned old people, another downside to the hot weather in Florida is that it encourages a large homeless population, since they don't have to worry about freezing to death at night. One estimate has homelessness in Florida at nearly 50,000 people and growing. And unfortunately, a lot of the homeless in Florida are mentally ill. Now, we mentioned the old people in Florida earlier. Florida has the highest percentage of people over 65. No wonder they call it God's waiting room. In 2010, there were 2.3 million Medicaid patients here, and the cost of caring for these people is $18.8 billion, nearly 30% of Florida's budget. Old people golf, and as such, Florida has the most golf courses in the US. There's more than 1,200 of them here. Florida's a transplant state, meaning it's more common to have moved here than to have been born here. Florida is also ranked towards the top when it comes to number of immigrants. Most are from Cuba and the Dominican Republic. What about sports? Floridans love sports. They have 3 NFL teams, 2 Major League Baseball teams, 2 NBA teams, and a professional hockey team. But hold the phone on that. It's NASCAR that has the keys to a Florida person's heart. There's a lot of people in Florida who love NASCAR so much, they don't even care they ain't got no job or no teeth. They got Kyle and Dale and Jimmy every Sunday. Mappy loves NASCAR, right Mappy? Hey, there you go, buddy. Now we could go on and on about Florida. We could talk about their obsession with Publix, the stylish flip-flops, the great fishing, and we barely even mentioned the Keys. But we'll save that for another video. It'll give you something to look forward to. That just about does it for our unboxing of Florida. See, the people in Florida aren't all crazy. A lot of them are just Americans from up north, moving down south to retire and enjoy some sun. Florida's actually pretty laid back. As Walt Disney once said, all who come to this happy place, welcome. The end. Hey guys, if you learned something new or you just like this video, make sure to like it. And if you really like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get all of our videos about what it's like to live in different places in America. Peace.